I actually have an article that it was a post on LinkedIn, and now it's an article that I'm working on. It's called the failing A student. So I was that failing A student, in a sense that I was phenomenal when it came to academics, but when it came to behavior, or when it came to the structure of the school, and I very much relate to what you say. I did not have a good time in school, mainly because just I mean, so the article really kind of explains it a little bit more, where in the sense of, I felt that the teachers and what they were teaching were disengaged. So I felt that the teacher was telling me a certain way to behave, but that teacher himself or herself was not behaving in what they were trying to educate me in. And I found that disconnect, and I don't do well with hypocrites. So
Yes.
um,
Yes.
so that was a big deal for me. And even though I was doing well academically, but in our community, we share the same community, I was titled chutzpah. So in the world, chutzpah in business, it's awesome. Be chutzpah, that's great. But in education, when you're a child in our communities, chutzpah is not a good thing. So I used to, like, my parents were freaking out. Like, okay, in academics he's getting A's, but in behavior he's getting like F's. So like, what's going on here? But I wish there was a Darche Menachem who, like, based on your story, that perhaps would have, like it's interesting to me how you mentioned this story. And I guess that accountability that I heard, I felt like I heard accountability coming from you, where it's like, I didn't like this in my education, and even though I wasn't the greatest student, it's kind of like the failing student becomes the principal kind of thing, which is an unbelievable story. I really just appreciated and connected to a lot of stuff that you were sharing today, which ties in perfectly, I guess, with our topic. So
I've
I love
always said the best teachers are the ones who had horrible educational experiences, because they're the
it.
ones who they see the problem and they
Mm,
want to go and fix it. I
they want
mean,
to fix it.
I swore I would never be a teacher, and
Yeah.
here we are.
As a
Good for
failing
you.
student, I'm biased, but I agree with what you're saying.
Mhm.
Definitely, it's the students that it's people that people that struggle with language become experts in language. People
Mhm.
that struggled, people that struggled emotionally or had traumatic childhoods will very often go into psychology because that is something that is near and dear to them.
Right.
Uh, I want to comment. You mentioned about hypocrisy, so I spoke to my mentor a little while ago, and I was talking to him about how our generation nowadays, how children are different than they were in the past. And he mentioned that the the thing that distances children away more than anything else nowadays, that stops children from progressing, that make children leave the path that their parents want them to go on, is hypocrisy.
Mm.
Is hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And more than that, something that we discuss a lot in the parenting course is the concept of being a role model, being a
Mm.
living example. And
Mhm.
the most effective method in training your child is to live by those certain ideals.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
exactly what you were saying about the hypocrisy.